today. The turtle was born since last night, and we always release just like they would naturally be released in nature. We don't keep them for days and days and days and then release them. The olive ridley is one of 7 species of sea turtles that are endangered in the world. In fact, they're all endangered species. And this turtle is not just from Mexico. You find this same turtle in Africa, Asia, Costa Rica, Central America, South America, quite worldwide actually. This is not the turtle that's off the coast of Maui or in Hawaii. That would be the green turtle and maybe the leatherback. But this is the olive ridley one. And this turtle is the smallest of the sea turtles. And this turtle will grow to be about 100 pounds and about 100 centimeters or about 1 meter across in the shell size. Now some people may have been here yesterday when it was 8 in the morning and I was sitting on the balcony looking out, and I noticed a turtle on the beach from our balcony, and I went down and it was a mother turtle who was in the process of trying to nest. There were a number of people around her. It was a false nest. She just couldn't seem to do what she needed to do. She did all sorts of things and then went back into the sea. So if you haven't seen one do that, you get a chance, consider yourself lucky, because we don't always see that, particularly in the morning. It does happen at night, usually, when they come ashore. Now, they will grow, or they can be 45 to 60 years old in their life, and they migrate from Ecuador all the way to Baja, California. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this turtle from the point that the mother comes ashore, and then we'll go in reverse backwards. What happens when it's time to mate, when the turtle is about 8 to 10 years old? The turtle comes back to this bay because this turtle is loyal, as I mentioned earlier, to the bay that they were released on. The sand on my hands imprints on this turtle, or on these turtles, and they know magically through nature that this is where they were released, in this bay, and they will come back to this bay in 8 to 10 years to go through the process of laying eggs. Now what happens is when they come to this bay, the females can be fertilized by up to 8 different males, and then the turtle will come ashore. Only the females come ashore. Males never ever come ashore again. Folks, if you'd like to hear me, you may find it easier to stand on that side. Okay? You just move while I'm talking, not to worry. So they come ashore, and they usually go to the high tide mark because they don't want to have their nests laden with water, etc. So they will come ashore after they're about 8 or 10 years old, come back to the beach anywhere on Banderas Bay. We are responsible for, or have taken charge of, about 14 kilometers of beach that we patrol at night. Some of you may have heard one of our noisy ATVs that needs a new muffler, go patrolling up and down the beach. We patrol that because we're looking for turtle nests. And we relocate those eggs so that we're in a safe corral so we can incubate those eggs. The female will come ashore, as I mentioned, to the high tide mark. She goes through a process. It takes about an hour. She begins to dig a nest with her hind flippers. And she digs a tube that's about this deep. She puts her rear end over that tube and drops the eggs down into the tube. But they're soft and pliable. They won't break. They're like the size of a ping pong ball. And she will lay between 80 and 100 eggs at a time. And she can repeat that process up to 3 times a year. She just needs to have 2 weeks in between. We give her a little bit of a holiday, and then she can do it again. Now, it doesn't mean that it happens 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. It could happen in 2 weeks. So she could only lay once, but it can be up to 3 times. It would be here on this, in this bay, if she was to lay more eggs.
You set it up there.
So she lays those eggs, tamps down the sand with her chest, beats it down, and then proceeds back to the ocean. Now that nest, you might think, well, if people walked over it, wouldn't they break the eggs? No. Those eggs are fine. You can drive a truck over that nest and the eggs would be fine. Not a problem at all. So what we do is we patrol the beach at night because they come ashore at night to lay. Of course, no people around or fewer people around. Sometimes people will walk the beach at night with a flashlight looking, and sometimes you're lucky to see them. If you do, just stand back and enjoy the process. It takes about an hour. Don't disturb her. She'll go into a trance, call it a birthing trance. Anybody who's had a baby might understand what that's all about. She's very quiet about it though. And she goes through that process and then she will start her journey back into the ocean. She's quite quick when she's finished, goes back into the water and away she goes. Not to return until she has a chance to lay more eggs. Now, the nests that we relocate, we can either catch them in the process of laying and put them in a bag, label the bag, we know where they were located on the beach, a date, because of course if we know the date, we know approximately how long it's going to take to incubate. So we bring them back and replicate a nest here with a post hole digger, dump the eggs in, cover it up, put a tag on it, so we know it'll be about 45 days in hot weather. Now we're getting cold. This is cold now. We're in winter, and it could take up to 60 days, give or take. So we will watch, and every nest that hatches, we will put them in the container, do a nature talk, and then release them. Now, if we leave the nests in their natural state, that's where we have problems, and that's why they're an endangered species, because we have many predators on the beach. We have humans, which I'm happy to say has been reduced dramatically on this beach because of a number of things. Number one, our education programs in school. Kids will go home and say, no, don't take those turtle eggs. We need to look after the turtles. So that's one reason. Hotels and condominiums, people are afraid they're going to get caught. And they don't want to spend 15 years in Topeka at the jail, because that's not a good place to be. And they don't want a huge fine. Mexico is very serious about poaching. There are raccoons. There are cucamundi, which kind of look like a lemur and a raccoon combination. Sometimes last year I saw lots down by the Flamingos Resort. I don't know if they're there this year. On the other side of the road. Dogs and cats are a problem. They smell the eggs and they dig the eggs up and they eat the eggs. So you may see some nests that have been, look like a dog has gone in and dug them up. Well, that's been a raided nest. And of course, therefore we will have no turtles from that nest. By digging them up and relocating them, we have a better chance, actually we have a 98% chance of getting them back to the water because of the corral. Now we have a corral here, we have one at Del Canto condominiums, one at Peninsula condominiums, and at the Mayan Palace. They have also their own program, which is based on this program. This is the main preserve, though, in Neuvo Vallarta and in Nayarit. Now, the sea turtle's main food source is jellyfish. And they love jellyfish, and that's why you can enjoy the beach and the water, because they're not going to be in the water stinging you. These turtles love them. So they eat jellyfish like crazy. It makes it an enjoyable place for you to holiday. But what we ask is if you happen to see plastic bags on the beach, plastic straws, these turtles will eat anything when it's out there in the water. And this is what a plastic bag does in the water. And you know what that looks like. It looks like a jellyfish. So they will ingest those, and it gets in their intestines and it kills them. So we ask that your help to make sure that the beach stays clean. You have to admit that we do have a pretty clean beach here because people are on board. The government has got containers, the hotels are on board. I mean, it's quite remarkable. If you've traveled other countries, this area is quite pristine. When these little babies are released, they go into the water and they'll stay out in this bay, down in the sea grasses and around the rocks for about 2 or 3 years. And then they will start to migrate. And they eat anything smaller than them, and as they get bigger, of course, the same thing happens. But at this age, and this size, anything bigger than them could also eat them. So, how many survive? Well, that's an interesting thing. We don't tag them because we don't have time to do that. They're only here for about 12 hours. So what happens is, we know how many nests we relocate and how many nests haven't been relocated. Because if naturally in nature, if we don't get them within 12 hours, they stay in what's called in situ, in their natural state. They will incubate in the sand. And some of you may have seen turtle nests in the last couple of weeks. The turtles have bubbled to the surface of the sand and have started their trek to the ocean. What we ask is if you have to come across baby turtles doing that in the morning, if you wouldn't mind gathering them up with something. Most hotels have buckets that they can lend you, so that the restaurants do as well. Bring them down and put them in the blue container by our gate here, because the biologists and such will have worked all night, so they're sleeping in the daytime and not awake. So rather than everybody knocking on their door and waking them up, we ask that they go in the container, which gives them shade, and then we release those as well. If you put them in the water during the daytime, it's a big problem because one of the biggest predators happens to be birds. Birds can see them without any problem at all. They look down from the sky and they see these little black objects that move very slowly and swim slowly, and they go down and pop up for air, and they just pick them out of the water, and it's their feed. So we want to make sure we can get as many into the ocean and come back as possible. Now, when we started 8 years ago, we had 500 nests that we relocated along this beach because we knew they were endangered and we had to do something. Last year, in 2012, we relocated over 9,000 nests, which is a huge improvement. Unfortunately, last year we dropped down to about 6,000, but nature goes in cycles. You can't always wait and wait and wait and expect to have the numbers go up and up now. I liken it to some years you have snow on the ski hill, and some years you don't. And some years you have more snow than others. Some year we're going to have more nests than others. So we're on a low right now. So we'll see what 2014 brings. We just got the statistics for 2013 now. So when we go down to the water, I'm going to ask that you get your hands dirty behind the rope that's on the beach. Stand behind the rope. We will then have the kids in front, if you don't mind, and we will give the children turtles first, and then we will distribute the turtles, and then we will count to 3, and when we get to 3, we'll ask you to put your turtle down and leave the turtle on the sand, because this will be the first time they will have been in wet sand. They've not been on the beach before, they've not been in water. But they'll know what to do, but some will be a little faster than others, because I say they're just like babies or little kids. Not all children learn to walk at the same time. They don't all start to move to the ocean at the same time. All have different DNA and different patterns. So they're trying to get their head around the whole thing of sensing the sand, and then they move ahead. Okay. Once we do that, you can ask questions of myself or the other volunteers, and hopefully we can answer your questions at that time. Okay, so let's go down.
Start the process.
Here we go.
Okay.